So when I was in high school, a lot of the cool teachers would let the seniors out early last period so they could run to their cars and just go home. But my school had this janitor who everyone called Patchy because he had an eye patch. And before anyone comes for me, it was used endearingly and he knew about it and he called himself Patchy. Anyway, Patchy did not like when the seniors left early and he would zip around on his golf cart like around the parking lot trying to stop people from leaving early. Now the gig was if Patchy caught you and was able to stop you from leaving, like going in front of your car or like driving his golf cart into you, he would give you a detention slip and you weren't able to leave early and you would stay after school. So the funniest thing would be at like 2:30 p.m. you would see the seniors like crawling like underneath cars, hiding behind bushes. Some people would just go sprint into the parking lot and try to outrun Patchy and his golf cart. And the best is if like someone got caught by him while he was handing out the detention slip, everyone would run.
Furbies are soulless demons that almost got my sister arrested. Story time! For my younger followers, these are Furbies. Really popular in the 90s because you could feed them, they could learn things, they could learn to talk, and they could even move. My family has inside jokes about these because said sister had two Furbies in the 90s that tried to kill each other. But that's a TikTok for another time. So on the way to Disneyland for my sister's 25th birthday, my mom gives her a gift of two brand new Furbies. She was super excited, but we couldn't take them in the park with us, so she decided to just leave them in the trunk for the night. She and my mom have a fun-filled day, but when they get back to their car, they find a crowd with police officers. My mom very cautiously asks, "Is there a problem, officer?" "Ma'am, you need to open your trunk right now!" So she's like freaking out, but you know, she calmly starts doing what the officer asks her, and she heads over to the trunk, where from inside she hears, "Help me! It's dark! I'm scared!" The Furbies had turned themselves on. And people thought that they were children my mom had kidnapped and thrown in a trunk.
So one day we were given an assignment to solve one math question per student. Then she would take our answers, photograph them, and project them to the class, and openly mark them in front of us. She went by last name, so I was going to be one of the first students she evaluated, which is very terrifying. She gets to me, and because I'm horrible at math, especially the one she was teaching us at the time, algebra, I'm embarrassed and I'm completely terrified as I watch her make these snide and salty comments about my messy handwriting and all of my mathematical errors. She's about to give me my failing grade on this little assignment when the unthinkable happens. Johnny starts to cough, and I mean, he's gagging. And flu season had just started around that time, so no one was really surprised. But then all of a sudden, Johnny, who I should also mention sits right in front of the teacher's desk, projectile vomits all over her desk. Exorcist style. And Mrs. F stops her little roast on me, turns to her desk, and is completely terrified as she sees this huge mess all over her desk. She's staring, the students are staring, everyone is staring, even Johnny is staring. All of a sudden, everybody, including Mrs. F, runs out of the classroom.
Story time about how I was dating the school shooter. Yeah. So a little background information. I was a sophomore whenever this all happened, and it was around October. Well, the one day I was sitting at lunch with my group of friends. We're all sitting there having a good time when one of my friends dares me to go over and sit with this one kid. And he was sitting alone, he was kind of shy. And of course I did because they had offered me $10, guys. Can't beat that. So I go over there, we start talking, and I realize that he's actually really nice. And he's really hot. I never really saw what he looked like because he was always wearing hoodies during school. Anyways, we started hanging out more, and eventually he said that he liked me, and we started dating. The relationship seemed pretty perfect. Well, 6 months in, I think he started to trust me more because he had told me about this one group of girls that he absolutely hated. This group of girls just happened to be my friends. I didn't tell him that I was friends with these girls because they were considered controversial, like for part 2. Part 2 about how I was dating the school shooter. Like I said, I had never told him that I was friends with these girls because they were controversial, but he would go on for hours about how much he hated these girls. He went as far to say that he wanted to kill them. I didn't think anything of it at first because him and I had more of a sarcastic sense of humor, but he started to sound more and more serious every time that he would talk about it. Well, after us dating for 10 months, he calls me the one night and he starts telling me about how he's going to shoot up the school. He had told me his entire plan of how he was going to do this. Now, he must have thought that we were like ride or die relationship, when in reality, I was recording everything that he was saying. After we got off the phone, I wrote an email to all of the office staff in my school, but I fell asleep and never finished the email. I woke up the next morning, finished it. I had texted my friends not to go to school that day. I had already missed the bus. I rode my bike to school that day. I ran to the principal's office, nobody was there, and that's whenever I heard shots in the hallway.
One time I was behind the register at Victoria's Secret. This customer walks in and immediately everybody spots her as a red flag. She's just picking up items, throwing them in her bag, not looking at sizes, not looking at colors. So everybody's like, Everyone's on their walkie like, watch this customer. She's coming to the fitting room. She's headed to the cash wrap. Somebody get her. Check her ID. Get her. Get her. She has a bag full of stuff. And guess who gets her at the register? Me. So she comes to my register and she dumps out her stuff and we're having a regular conversation. Hi, how are you? Yada, yada, yada. Her total comes up to probably between $700 to $900. It was expensive. My manager is at the register next to me talking to me on the walkie. Ashley, make sure you get that ID. Don't matter what she's using, make sure you get that ID. So I ask her for the ID because she's paying credit. Why do you need to ask for my ID? Just take it, run it. I'm like, no ma'am, I'm sorry, I need your ID for the purchase. She starts to raise her voice at me. So she's raising her voice at me and I'm like, but I just couldn't, y'all. So I was like, I can raise my voice too. Do you want to play this game? Cause I'll win, promise. And she's like, oh, well, what time do you get off work? And I'm like, I'm closing, I'm actually getting off at 11. Would you like to pick me up? And then she calls me stupid. She's like, you're fucking stupid. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna eat that. Then she calls me a dumb bitch. Whew. So I took a deep breath. And I said, fuck you, you dumbass bitch. Your broke ass can't even afford these motherfucking clothes and you over here trying to scam me. Fuck off my line. And honestly, me and her just started going back and forth at each other like, My manager's like, go to the back, go to the back, go to the back. I'm still cursing her out as I'm walking to the back of the store. I really thought I would get fired, but I actually didn't.